Unexplained, obscure matters are regarded as more important than explained, clear ones. Quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. Not too long ago, I went on a daring flight across the Atlantic. I was one of about 300 other passengers, but that flight didn't receive any media. It didn't even make it into the local news. That's because it was a normal, explainable flight. But on the 8th of March, 2014, at 12:41 a.m., a group of 227 passengers and 12 crew members left Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Tragically, the 239 people aboard the MH370 were unaware that their flight would disappear without a trace and become international news for the next decade. Today, we will discuss Malaysia Flight 370. First, I will talk about the vanishing. Secondly, I will talk about the suspect. And thirdly, I will discuss the ongoing search.
Point 1. The vanishing.
Malaysia Flight 370 took off at 12:41 a.m. on March 8, 2014, with 227 passengers and 12 crew members. About 38 minutes after the plane took off, the transponders were deliberately turned off. These transponders are what flight radars like Flight Radar 24 uses to detect planes. Timeline World History Documents says, quote, the transponders, the tool allowing the plane to be seen by the control tower, did not suddenly stop emitting, as would be the case during a crash. It was gradually switched off, step by step, from inside the cockpit, end quote. Soon after the transponders were completely off, the plane made a sharp turn, too sharp for autopilot to make, meaning that someone must have been manually driving the plane and turning the transponders off. The cabin was likely depressurized shortly after the turn, knocking out all the passengers. What exactly happened inside the plane after this point is one of the unexplained traits of this story. About an hour and 20 minutes after takeoff, the SATCOM communication system experienced a power loss. The SATCOM communication system, which stands for satellite communication, talks with satellites. It is separate from the transponders and is normally used to talk directly with the air traffic control towers. The SATCOM system is not useful for determining exact positions of the plane. About 25 minutes later, the SATCOM system rebooted and continued to give us handshakes every hour for the next 6 hours. While the signals confirmed the aircraft could be continued flying for nearly 7 hours, the fact that all communications came through a single satellite created an enormous potential search area, corresponding to multiple possible routes. The immense uncertainty led to the initial efforts covering more than 4.5 million kilometers of ocean. The subsequent success in narrowing the boundaries based on continuous groundbreaking data analysis is remarkable. Over the years, we've been able to narrow down the search area from 4.5 million square kilometers to just 25,000 square kilometers, defining a much more manageable area for renewed searches. But even so, the final resting position of the plane is an unexplained aspect of this tragic event.
Point 2. The suspect.
From evidence that I've brought up, it is pretty clear that this was deliberately planned and thought out by someone. The pilot, Captain Zahiri Ahmed Shah, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is the primary suspect. First, the act was very deliberate and sophisticated, requiring a deep understanding of how the Boeing 777 worked. And Captain Shah had over 15 years of experience on the 777. On top of that, Captain Shah's home flight simulator had multiple, almost identical flight paths as the one he took on that fateful night, showing that he had planned it out in advance. Captain Shah's motives are an unexplained element of this tragedy. There are several theories for his motives. Some believe that it was a political protest, as the captain was an active member of the opposing power and one of their biggest supporters of the political party, Anwar Ibrahim, was sentenced to death just a day before the flight. Others believe that there was third-party interventions, or that the pilot was blackmailed. Some of his friends also testified that his marriage was falling apart, which could have made him more reckless. Ultimately, we will probably never know his true motives. This aspect of the story will probably remain unexplained. But we are making strides to find the wreckage. Point 3. The search. The Malaysian government has made a contract with Ocean Infinity, a marine robotics company that specializes in scanning the ocean floor. In their contract, they have a no find, no fee policy, meaning that if Ocean Infinity doesn't find the plane, then they don't get anything. This contract should motivate Ocean Infinity to conduct its search as diligently as possible. They are utilizing more AUVs, or autonomous underwater vehicles, to cover more ground quicker. Another advancement in the search for flight MH370 is Whisper, or Weak Signal Propagation Reporter. Whisper is a protocol to detect how weak and medium signal strengths propagate over large distances. Whisper can detect obstacles by detecting anomalies. Whisper was not originally developed for tracking aircraft, but in 2021, Richard Godfrey and his colleagues explored the possibility. They got the Whisper data from multiple different points around the Indian Ocean and used algorithms to monitor for anomalies in multiple transmissions. This allowed Whisper to function as, quote, a poor man's primary radar, end quote. Their analysis provided 67 positions for the 6.5-hour flight.
6-7.
On screen, you can see the flight path from these 67 points. And as you can see, they lined up with the 7 arcs from the SATCOM communication system. What's even more interesting is this infinity pattern. It is a holding pattern, which signifies that he was searching for something. Something like Penyang Ultra Deep Hole, which could be the perfect crash position, since the hole is over 6,000 meters deep, and it is filled with lots of sediment. This is also where the data from Whisper suggests that he crashed. Flight MH370 has been the biggest and longest deliberate plane disappearance in the 21st century. It'll be interesting to see if Ocean Infinity will be able to find Malaysia Flight 370. In recovering the plane, we may be able to find the black box, which would include flight data and an audio recording of the pilot. This could open the case up, and this could explain his motives. MH370 remains important and relevant until we know what truly happened.